Hey everybody, my name is Kelly Payne. Today my speech is over prayers in schools. I'm going to discuss three topics. We're going to discuss the historical background as well as the advantages and disadvantages of prayers in schools. So to start off, when children are brought up in a Christianity household, it helps parents solidify their children's faith. So parents are more likely to support prayers in schools. But on the other hand, when they're brought up in a non-Christianity household, parents are most likely not to support prayers in schools because it doesn't line up with their religion. So the current step or the next step of your life may involve children, so this topic is of importance to many. So let's begin with a background on my topic area. My first main point is the history behind prayers being spoken in schools. According to James Gans in the Marquette Law Review, there was not necessarily a school system in place when the U.S. was formed. Therefore, it's difficult to decipher what the creators meant when speaking about school prayers specifically. However, in many documents that form the U.S., it does specifically call out God, which bears the questions, did the creators mean to have God in schools when they were creating it? So in the causes and necessities of taking up arms, it specifically calls out God as the divine author of our existence, as well as the reverence of our great creator. In the Declaration of Independence, it speaks about God-given rights, and God is the source of all human rights. The controversy of having prayers in schools dates back all the way to the 1940s. According to an article by Kevin McGuire, it reveals that many cases involving prayers at schools have been brought to the court's attention. However, devotional activities always lingered in schools, and people would just devise a different way to continue devotional activities in schools. Many leaders who had a hand in creating the U.S. spoke many remarks about God and education. According to a repository citation titled Church and States, Prayers in Public Schools by James Gans, many of the U.S. creators spoke about God being the backbone and how without the Lord there is nothing. In the 1787 Northwest Ordinance, religion, morality, and knowledge is needed for a well-running government. Also, mankind, schools, and education should always be supported. James Madison had a hand in the First Amendment, which states no one can have their civil rights taken away based on behalf of religious beliefs, and it's prohibited to have a national religion. Thomas Jefferson questioned the nation's liberties when talking about taking God out of the equation. He referred to God as the only firm basis and believed that liberties are a gift from God. Now that you're familiar with the history of prayers in schools, I'm going to move to my second point, which is the advantages of prayers in schools. In an article from the University of Chicago Law School by Jeffrey Stone, he points out some ambiguity from Justice Black. The Establishment Clause and its history did not fully support the notion that prayers in public schools was unconstitutional. The word overdrawn was even used to describe the leniency that the Establishment Clause has. In a Santa Clara Law Review by Robert Luther and David Caudle, the authors bring up the question of the Establishment Clause with the Free Speech Clause and how the two clash with each other. If a valedictorian wishes to speak about his or her religion at their graduation ceremony, then they are exercising their freedom of speech. However, it is at a school function, and according to the Establishment Clause, that's prohibited. So this can cause some disheartenment among students who do believe in praying, but this could also cause some peers to stray away from a religion because it is supposedly frowned upon in schools. This goes to show how there are different interpretations among clauses and how there can always be an opposite point of view of something. Government officials, city council members, and school board members are met with harsh remarks of disapproval when someone wants to open a meeting with a prayer. This calls into the freedom of speech clause. If someone wants to say something like a prayer, they actually have every right to. My third and final point includes some of the disadvantages with prayers in schools. One of the major disadvantages includes children not being self-aware of religion and what it means. Annie Gaylor states in her article, The Case Against School Prayer, that young children in schools are a confined audience, meaning they will listen to whatever they're told, and they have no choice but to listen and follow the rules. So there could be a major disconnect due to the possible religious differences between a child in school. Therefore, a private religion should not be intertwined with public schools in some people's views. There have been many court cases against praying in school, and the article titled Religion in Public Schools by Jesse Choper, the Establishment Clause plays a huge role when it comes to schools with school prayers. When schools play a role which includes religious activity, the Establishment Clause is violated because schools cannot influence a student's beliefs whatsoever. In an article by Jeffrey Stone titled In Opposition to the School Prayer Amendment, it talks more specifically about the Establishment Clause. In the case Engel versus Shemp, the school imposed a prayer that included 10 verses from the Bible every day. This resulted in a court decision of unconstitutional with a vote of 8-1. Justice Stewart called into question if children are exposed to religious practices in schools, then their parents might not be able to adequately fulfill their needs outside of schools, which can cause problems at home. In conclusion today, I discussed the topics of prayers in schools. There are 3 main points that I focused on in the body of my speech, which included a historical background, as well as advantages and disadvantages of prayers in schools. I fully believe that it depends on someone's religion on whether they support prayers in schools. This has been a heated debate for many years, and people will have to learn how to agree to disagree because you cannot change someone's religion just so it can match yours. Thank you.